Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Old World. Um, Wait, just 1 second here. I just want to make sure that we're completely set up. One moment, one moment. All right, just getting a little set up here for now. Taking a look at things. Just want to make sure that I am live streaming. All right, yeah, it looks like we're live. Okay. So yeah, hello everyone, welcome to Old World. This is part 2 of Klass, Koalas, and Cliff. We're picking up immediately at the conclusion of the official Mohawk Twitch stream. So, just as things are about starting to heat up, forgive me, just getting myself situated here. Yeah, just as things are starting to get heated up between Klass and Cliff, we have a fight over some heavily expanded territory from the Hittites. And for those tuning into part 2 who didn't keep up with all of part 1, ahoy there, I say to my chat. And to this ship. All right, so a quick recap for people who happen to skip directly part 2 or maybe browsed around part 1 and they're tuning in as I've picked up this live stream. We've had 2 schemers who are both very old. One's ill and one is blessed. And we're exactly on turn 50. And Klass Koalas has managed to expand to 14 cities. He has at least 2 more coming in on the way. There's a settler right here and a settler right here. And he's exactly 3 turns away from the Ishtar. So he's about to bomb the map with, if we look here, where are we here? Ah, yes. So he'll settle 2 more cities. He's about to bomb the map with 11 developing culture cities, which will each trigger a culture event. In the meantime, we have him coming out into this forward settle here. He's just this rapid expansion strategy, was kind of left to his own devices, and now he's at the border of Rome, just managed to settle the city, and Rome decided to try to punish that, blocking in all of these units with superior units of his own, and we have some real aggression for the first time in the tournament. First blood, I believe, was Rome was killing a chariot, and I don't believe the Hittites really were able to respond much. They might have killed a spear, but this is a decent play here from Cliff because he needs to start showing some aggression. The score for Hittites is stronger, but a handful of these units are all down here. His best units, in fact, are all down here, which is a good sign for Cliff, and he doesn't have a lot of good transportation capability at the front line. He is coming up with this bireme. Looks like he's trying to connect this coast for rapid transport to the front line. That's a really strong, good play on Klass's part. But the issue we have really in this game so far is Klass has had so much of a rapid development expansion lead, right? We've had so much extra science that has been consistent throughout the game. We have tons of extra wealth. He's so much wealthier, right? And let's look down here. 19 technologies to 14. We have... Where are our improvements? I can't scroll for some reason. We have 55 improvements to 54. So they're actually pretty even on improvements. That's nice. But one major thing was ruins were left on, and Klass really leveraged the schemer capability to run around the map, explore the map, and gobble up as many ruins as he can. He got 10 ruins to Cliff's 3. I believe there's... Nope, he even got... Yeah, he got this 10th one, and there's one more left on the map, and it's right down here. So maybe Cliff will grab that, but that swung a huge advantage to Klass. And just to give it a little bit more of a demonstration, Klass has revealed the vast majority of the map. He did this pretty much within about 20-25 turns. And comparatively, Rome... Also, if I can have an audio check from those on chat, just to make sure I sound okay. Comparatively, Rome has only revealed his part of the map and half, pretty much a path, a sliver to Hittites. That's a massive advantage that you can get from the schemers. You can just explore, and you get so much more legitimacy. If we take a look at the legitimacy on Klass, it's 163 to 114 on the on Rome. So, yeah, you need to be very aware if you do play in this tournament and you opt to leave ruins. Oh, he will be able to cross this bay right here, so that's pretty solid. He'll probably establish some roads. That makes sense. He purchased some tiles. Does he have colonies now? Yep, he opted to get colonies. That's pretty clever. I like that. So we'll probably hop over here and get colonies again, and just rather than building more biremes, although he is doing that, he can just put a bireme down to here. He'll be able to expand these borders. Thanks, James. Expand these borders and just get coastal movement all the way to the front line from his core. This is not looking like a very good position for Cliff. The other issue that we have is a countdown here. The Hittites have 6 laws. They are 4 turns away from getting their 7th law, and they have a strong city with which he does need to build a stronghold. Everybody always kind of messes up this whole process. You either forget the culture level or you forget to build your buildings, but then you end up with the laws that you need, and suddenly you're like, oh crap, I still need like a bunch more turns before I can get it. However, if once that happens, Klass will be able to adopt orthodoxy. He does have Judaism as a state religion. Spread some Judaism into the city, and he can just instantly rush a 3-man chariot, 8 strength unit every single turn indefinitely for, with this amount of orders, at least 3 or 4 turns. So that's 4 instant heavy chariots, or 3-man chariots rather. And then you're looking at 8 strength units to, even though there are spears here, this is the 3-man chariot damage that I have hovered over right now. 3-man chariot would still do 5 damage to this unit. So if this were an 8 strength heavy chariot, we're probably looking at closer to 8 or 9 damage. So a bunch of heavy chariots showing up would seal the deal for Rome. I would not be surprised if these fellas are content to keep playing. If we see that 7-law timing attack happen, we're on turn 50. We are close to that timing. Experienced veteran players can hit 7 laws, 8 strength unique units within 50 or 60 turns. So especially if in this, as happened in this situation, they are allowed to greedily expand with 0 harass. So if you happen to find yourself on a larger map, you either need to have the same type of potential as your opponent to expand like this. For example, if Klass were fighting a similar an opponent like himself, he might be facing an opponent who has 12 city sites or more. Rome struggled, on the other hand, struggled to produce settlers, played a little bit slower. Cliff played at a similar pace in his first match. He expanded quite well. However, his pace of development and expansion was a little bit on the slower side, which worked out in that case against his opponent. But this is 2 games in a row where Klass has rapidly sprawled all across the map and happened to get the Ishtar Gate in combination with it for a massive power spike. The other thing about the Ishtar Gate is it allows you to rush in any city that you control, which means comboing with orthodoxy, comboing with the spread of Judaism, soon, in just 4 turns or so, Klass will be able to rush any unit production. Well, I guess except for his unique unit, he would be capped off at 6 strength units, but he will be able to rush from any single one of his cities. And keep in mind the thing about rushing production. The cost scales every time you use it. However, it only scales for that specific city. So by having so many cities, 14, soon to be 16 cities that will all be developing in culture, he's able to maximize the potential of a law like orthodoxy. And that's what makes orthodoxy so powerful. Even though it is, I'm going to show you in the text tree right now, even though it requires orders to rush units. Oh, let me use the tooltip here. Even though it requires orders to rush units, it still comes online significantly earlier than Martial Code, which requires gold. And it essentially can be done, as Klass did in this situation, as the end cap of your 7-law push. He already has his 6 laws with all of the technology that he currently has, and Doctrine will make it his 7th law while simultaneously unlocking the ability to rush. It's a very powerful tactic, and I'll be curious. I mean, this is just me theorizing at this point. I don't know. Given the fact that Klass has all 4 religions soon, or will have all 4 religions soon. In fact, I don't even think Rome has monasticism. So, all right, let's take actually a look at this battle. We have more attacks coming in. We have more losses on Rome, on the Hittites. Switch over to Rome's perspective here. They're still similar in power. This is a good battle. This is looking like a good battle for Cliff. What I'll be interested to see is if this city can maintain full health by the time the Ishtar bomb goes off. Klass could get the ability to rush these walls, which could be interesting to see if he opts to do that. Let me make sure we're not muted. We are. So here we go. We'll get some music for you guys. We'll get some sound effects. All right. So that's, yep. Rome doesn't have monasticism, so Klass could get all 4 religions, and that makes me think it's possible he could go for tolerance. I would like to not see tolerance, because the aggressive endgame ending play would absolutely be to grab orthodoxy and leverage that advanced unit production capability. You have your 8 strength unit, you have orthodoxy, your opponent only has spears, which, even though they are still decent against heavy chariots, an 8 strength unit attacking into a 5 strength unit is still a heavy blow. So I do worry a little bit that with the level of greed that we've seen from Klass here in this game, he might opt for tolerance. And tolerance would certainly be a lot of happiness, but I just feel like you just don't need it in this match. Your advantage at this point is the fact that you'll just be able to spit out an army everywhere using your already high orders. Klass is making 38 orders per turn, which isn't that bad. That's certainly enough to rush at least 1 8 strength unit a turn. I believe 8 strength units start at about 24 orders per turn, or maybe 21-ish, and then they scale up. And it takes about 3 or 4 rushes or so to get to about 30 orders per turn. So it's a pretty good rate. All right, let's see if the Hittites back off. The Hittites can get out here. All right. Reinforcement potential is now online. This worker can get all the way over here. So that's the other thing. By doing this, this is a worker right now, but military units can come all the way here for massive flanking potential. Certain units could come in here and then do the reverse of what Cliff is doing here now. Klass could outflank Cliff and lock the majority, what seems to be the majority of Cliff's army. Yes. There are some down here. He has some military down here, but they're way too far away to influence this conflict. He could zone of control lock the majority of Cliff's army. Here comes a spear. Into this border territory. We have a commander on that spear. And this could create a situation where Klass's army ends up being stuck into position inside enemy territory and gets obliterated. 2 walls are coming up in these border cities. Let's see what else is on the way to reinforce. We do have a warrior. Look at this insane movement. Look at this. This is the power of coastal movement. In part 1, we were discussing in chat how the real play here for Rome would have been to not go south, but to take their rapid military expansion and military force and expand westward. What that would do for them is their champion output would start cascading units west, such that by the time Rome cleared a city like this or this, most of Rome's units would then therefore be on the Hittites' border. And the thing that does is, if your opponent is playing ultra greedy, which Klass was, Klass would be in a situation where he would have a decent-sized Roman force with the potential to start invading his territory much, much sooner. Early on in the game, Klass Koala went about 20 turns or so with only building maybe 1 military unit, give or take. He went very low military production and relied on his bonus heavy chariot to do the majority of his clearing for him, combined with a pretty well promoted warrior that his ruler was originally on. So that's one of the interplays that can happen here. If you have a greedy opponent, you can punish them with aggression. Of course, the risk there is if your punishment or your rush strategy fails, well, then now you have a very well-developed greedy opponent who will likely pull ahead through their momentum. But the risk through not creating a situation where they need to worry about you is essentially you're just playing a game to see who's better at expanding and developing and basically playing the greed game. So if you're not also playing the greed game, you can fall behind in that way. And that's going to be one of the things that you see here with the expansion. Keep in mind, both players started with a schemer, but Rome has barely uncovered the majority of the map. We'll call it maybe 40% of the map has been revealed, give or take, right? Whereas in 20 turns, Klass Koala leveraged his schemer and revealed all of the map. So that's one of the things where you need to be mindful of when you're facing an opponent. All right, looks like we're going to have a very brief part 2, so this is essentially going to be the end of part 1. I was picking up at the end of their stream. These guys have already been playing for approximately 5 hours. Yeah, all right. So we will be doing the end here, and they'll be resuming for part 2. Very, very strong showing from Klass. How many turns on the Ishtar Gate? Oh, 2 more turns on the Ishtar Gate, and I would love to see this pop off while I'm recording this last part. Mostly because I want to go over all the events for stream and chat here. But yeah, we'll see how this plays out. If you're tuning into this part first and you haven't caught part 1, This is for the people tuning in on YouTube after the fact. If you happen to be on my channel or maybe skipped a part on the playlist and you're tuning into this and you're wondering why it's only just, a few minutes long, what we're looking at now, we're only looking at 20 minutes. Yeah, so if you're wondering why this video is only a half hour long, it's the end session of a 5-hour run of our two guys, and part 1 is located on the official Mohawk YouTube channel. They'll be uploading it there. So you can always go back and catch and browse through part 1. And then part 2 will be on a different channel at a later time, which will likely end up getting linked in the description of these videos. We're going to have a massive playlist that's spread across all of YouTube, and I think what we'll start doing is getting the habit of linking each part together in the description in case someone happens to not find themselves on the playlist. But the playlist will be pretty accessible. It does look like, rather than backing off, Klass seems to be interested in trying to keep his opponent interested in fighting, which leads me to think, which leads me to think he's hoping to maybe try and surprise him with a little bit more military, although he doesn't have that much coming in. This could come down to tactics. We have seen games in this tournament so far where the more advanced player, who appeared to be the clear favorite to win, ended up failing to invade their opponent and losing the tactical game pretty hard. It's possible we could see a similar outcome here. However, the Hittite economy is massive. We have 115 food per turn, 88 metal, 203 stone per turn. This negative 55 gold is irrelevant in the face of how many resources he's generating each turn. Compared to Rome, we have 100 stone per turn, 69 metal, and only 18 food, but our income is positive. Just gonna confirm that the game is coming to an end. Or this session, anyway. Seeing no actions from Cliff just yet. So I assume he's on board with that idea. Rome appears to be attempting to grab scholarship, which is a strong path, however, a risky path because he does he have his 4 laws yet? He does have 4 laws now. But he's soon to have 4 laws to 8. Alright, our players are agreeing to end the game. I know, always disappointing when the game ends just as things heating up. A very common trend in a couple of these longer games. That's funny. But such is life. And that's some good sportsmanship on the part of our players. So, end of part 2, or I guess part 1. Recap, we have 8 cities on Rome compared to 14, soon to be 16 on the Hittites. The Hittites are approximately 1 to 2 turns away from an Ishtar bomb, which will generate a massive payout across his entire empire. Let's do a quick run of stats. We have nearly 7,000 wealth to 2,000 on Rome. Total population is similar. Specialists is similar. 27 workers for Klass and 11 to Cliff. That is a massive worker advantage. Interestingly enough, and this is what I'm talking about greed here. Interestingly enough, we only have 8 military units produced on Klass Koalas in 50 turns, compared to 12 on Rome. So if Rome was cascading eastward in his game rather than westward, rather than expanding south, this battle that we see happening right here now would be taking place here-ish, and it would have been taking place perhaps 20 turns ago. And I think that could have been a devastating development for Klass. Instead, both players went greed, and it became a battle of which player is better at expanding, and it is very clear that Klass has taken the advantage on that front. Just recapping some final stats again. 6 laws to 5, 19 techs to 15, 85 improvements to 57, and we'll do quick science. Hittites have the lead for a while, dropping down to 82 science per turn here to 66. And then the order lead is in the Hittite advantage as well, 38 to 35. Military score, both, oh man, see, yeah, this is a shame. They're dead, they're neck and neck. They are neck and neck. So if Rome had a different expansion strategy, maybe this could be looking more in his favor these days. And legitimacy, very strong lead for Hittites all game, direct result of the schemer exploring the map. Anyway, thanks for tuning in for the last part of this game. I'm Siontific, and we appreciate everybody being involved and viewing the tournament, and please tune in next time for the exciting conclusion of Klass Koalas and Cliff, the first match we've had so far of the second round of the tournament.